this your host, Selah Shalom, and this is the Cosmon Teachings in the words of Jehovah and his angel ambassadors from the Cosmon Bible, OWASP. And the topic of discussion today is going to be called the three inhabitant worlds. So now let's get into the names of these three inhabitant worlds. Now in the book of Jehovah, chapter 3, verse 8, it states, "Think not, O man, that I created the sky barren waste and void of use. Even as man in the corporeal form is adapted to the corporeal earth, so is he in the spiritual form adapted to my Etherean worlds. Three great estates have I bestowed on man, the corporeal, the atmospherian, and the ETHEREAN." So in this verse, it states that the three inhabited worlds for man are the corporeal worlds, which is the earth, the planetary worlds, and then you have the atmospherian worlds, known as the lower heavens, and then you have the ETHEREAN worlds, known as the higher heavens, or the emancipated worlds. So these are the three inhabited places given to man: corporeal, the atmospherian, and the ETHEREAN. Now if we go into the book of Synopsis of 16 Cycles, chapter 3, verse 20 and 21, it states, "And ye shall also proclaim unto the earth and her heavens, that from the first, even in the ancient days, I proclaim my three worlds unto all people, which are my corporeal worlds, and the lower heavens that belong thereto, and my ETHEREAN heavens, which are in the firmaments above. And I said, the first glory is of the earth, whereon is paradise, when man obeys my commandment. And the second glory, which is greater than the first, I created for the spirits of the dead. But I bound the lower heavens to the earth, that it may travel therewith, that the communion of the dead with the living might add a glory unto both. But the upper heavens I made the highest of all glories, and I filled the ETHEREAN firmament with countless worlds of their kind, for the dwelling places of those that rose in the third resurrection." Verse 21, "And I sent from my exalted heaven down to the lower heavens and to the earth also my holy angels, over whom I appointed gods and lords in the majesty of my dominions. And they came proclaiming these things in my name, teaching both mortals and spirits how to live, that they may rise and inherit my illuminated worlds." So once again, this verse is showing that the three worlds are the corporeal, which is the earth, the lower heaven, which travel with the earth, and the ETHEREAN worlds, which is beyond the boundaries and the earth, which is beyond the boundaries of the earth and its atmosphere. And these worlds are prepared for humans as we progress in everlasting life, starting first from the earth, and then in the atmospherian worlds, and then into the ETHEREAN worlds. And Jehovah sends down ETHEREAN angels at appointed times and seasons to teach humans of these higher heavens and how to progress to get there. And then these ETHEREANs are sent back to the upper regions. Now we're going to go into who inhabits these three worlds. Now in the book of Jehovah, chapter 2, verse 1 and 2, it states, "Jehovah said, by virtue of my presence created I the seen and the unseen worlds, and I commanded man to name them. And man called the seen worlds Corpor, and the unseen worlds East. And the inhabitants of Corpor man called Corporeans, but the inhabitants of East he called sometimes Essayans, and sometimes spirits, and sometimes angels." Verse 2, "Jehovah said, I created the earth and fashioned it and placed it in the firmament, and by my presence brought man forth a living being. A corporeal body gave I him, that he may learn corporeal things, and death I made that he might rise in the firmament and inherit my ETHEREAN worlds." So in this verse it states that the seen worlds, which are the physical worlds, are called Corpor, and the unseen worlds, which are the spirit worlds, are called East. Now the inhabitants of the physical world are called Corporeans, which are mortal beings, human beings, and the inhabitants of the spirit world are called spirits, angels, or Essayans. Now, in verse 2 it states, man was created on the earth to learn in the physical realm And death was made for the physical body, but the spirit was made to rise to the Etherian worlds. So the corporeal man, or the physical man, inhabits the earth, and the spirit of man after death inhabits the spirit world, or the atmospherian world, and then after that into Etherea. Now in the book of Ben, chapter 1, verse 29, it states, Jehovah said, to man gave I a corporeal body that he may learn corporeal things, but death I made that man may rise in spirit and inherit my Etherian worlds. So here it states that death was made for the rising of man's spirit into the Etherian worlds. So the physical death is the spirit birth. So humans have two entities, one being physical and one spiritual. And in the book of Jehovah, chapter 4, verse 7 and 8, it states the two entities. It says, the corporeal man made I belonging to the seen, but the spiritual man made I as one within the unseen and everlasting. As the corporeal man beholds corporeal things, so do the spiritual man follow upward the evaporated corporeal entities of things. As corporeal things are tangible to the corporeans, so are east or spiritual things tangible to the spirits of the dead. So this verse states that the physical man belongs to the seen, and the spiritual man to the unseen. And as the physical things are tangible to the physical man, so are spiritual things tangible to the spirit of man after death. Now let's go into the atmospherian worlds, which travel along with the earth. In the book of Jehovah, chapter 2, verse 8, it states, the atmospherian worlds I also created in the firmament, and I gave them places and orbits and courses for themselves. But atmospherian worlds I created shapeless and void of fixed forms, for they are in process of condensation or dissolution, being intermediates in conditions between my Etherian and my corporeal worlds. Of three degrees of density created I them, and I commanded man to name them. And one he called Ajah, and one he called Jah-A, and one he called Nebula. So the atmospherian worlds is an intermediate between the earth and Etherea, and that the atmospheria is composed of different densities of atmospheric pressures called Ajah, Jah, and Nebula, which are materials within the atmosphere. Now in the book of Judgment, chapter 12, verse 20, it states, in the atmospherian regions which rotate with the earth, behold, there are many plateaus larger than the earth, being inhabitable heavens belonging to the earth. Their component parts are like unto the earth, and they are adapted to the abide of angels, even as the earth is for mortals. Verse 21. And yet, O man, these are but the atmospherian heavens. These are the dominions given into the keeping of thy God. These are my kingdoms and my heavens for a season. Now, in this verse, it states that the atmospherian worlds rotate with the earth and is conjoined together, with plateaus larger than the earth, with resemblance to the earth. And these are dwelling places for the spirits of those who die on earth. And the ruler of this atmospherian world is called God, an angel in the atmosphere. Now in the book of Jehovah, chapter 2, verse 9 and 10, it states, but all of them are composed of the same substance, being like the earth, but rarefied. Nor is there on the earth or in it one thing, even iron, lead, or gold, water, oil, or stone. But the same things are in my atmospherian worlds. As I have given light to the earth, so have I given light to many of them. And all such have I commanded man to call comets, and even so named he them. And I also created the atmospheria around about my corporeal worlds. Together made I them. So in this verse it states that all material things, minerals, vegetable substance, all type of things you find on earth is found in the atmospherian worlds. So here lies the material for making the heavenly kingdoms in heaven by the angels. Because remember, these materials are tangible to the angels of heaven. And these substances that rise out of the earth